testing your expectations against how it really was, especially being in the mayor's office. Hearing all the stuff from the States is kind of testing against looking at like the mayor's big gold chain, and it seemed very surreal in a lot of ways.
Especially when he put on the hat.
It's kind of neat that he was a big jazz fan. I mean, that doesn't... How often do you get to play for mayors who are fans of jazz?
It's quite a contrast, though, from the mayor's office to Cuba, which is very different.
For me, it was a real experience to have the kids, for instance, in the Market Theatre with that poster of Abdullah and the other posters around, and for this all to be so familiar to me and to be part of my childhood and adulthood, and to see it again through the eyes of all the people who were with me was a really enlightening experience.
Come and get it! Broke the drum.
That was in the game reserve.
You're getting excited.
So last night in the game was
certain things very vividly, and it's very nice, it's very soothing.
The whole feeling that you get, like being in the mountains or just being out with nature, it's just a feeling that comes up through you, and it's hard to put in words, but you can think back to that time and just, it's incredible.
The most amazing thing about the wilderness is that not just its beauty and the small things with it, but it's the hugeness of it. I mean, these mountains, you look up for hundreds of miles without seeing anything, and you just don't get that kind of thing here.
Fans.
Amazing. They just ran up to us and shoved pieces of paper in our hands, and we had to kneel down and write on them.
They love it all.
Yeah. Oh, they had the best steak in the
Wonder if you can really see the forces working against these people trying to educate themselves. I mean, tiny classrooms, what they said, 50-plus kids in the classroom is very hot, and it's not like ideal places to learn.
Yeah, and it was especially frustrating because you could just tell by everyone's face that the students, they really wanted to learn. You could even tell because they rush up to us and want to learn about our country.
When we were both here at Pambili and at Cuba, when we asked the students to sing for us some of their traditional songs, you can see the teachers joined in and everyone was singing, and I think we were all left with this real impression of how the communication and the spirit of the people is so much a part of their singing, that it's not just articulating their voices and hearing their voices, but it is them, the whole spirit of being a black South African.
Port Elizabeth. Oh, this is the greatest concert. This is my favorite concert in the whole trip.
As the standing ovation. It's very nice.
Several hundred people coming just to see us from around the community. She wore the hat too.
This was the walk that I took everyone on. I think they were expecting quite half an hour, and it was 3.5.
That was the best walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Just the change in the landscape was so striking. It went from, rocky cliffs to these long flat beaches. Back out into green coastline, which is just beautiful.
I rolled down.
The raw power, just the incredible force that these waves had and the rocks, and just how really insignificant we were in relation to this. Yeah.
These African pseudo cave paintings on the walls and this big African flag.
A lot of people showed up just hearing that we were Americans, and they said, "Oh, Americans here, we gotta come." And they took me to this.
Yeah, the crowd here was great.
Yeah.
That was scary.
The Gophers.
What are they called?
Stacy.
They were very
Pirates.
vicious.
Gophers.
But look how it's getting right here.
This is Table Mountain, which is famous through the last 400 years, ever since Europeans started sailing down the coast of Africa on the way to finding the West Indies, which became the East Indies. And we're virtually here at the tip of Africa, and this is this huge mountain that dominates the whole of the Cape Town skyline.
Playing
Tafelberg Carnival Ensemble, underneath, looking out and seeing Table Mountain in the distance was one of the high points of my life so far. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
The map school.
That was really
Oh, this was great. This was after we played. Some of their students got up and started playing, and they would. Yeah, here it is. We had a joint jam session. We all just joined in.
Cool. It's a music action for people's progress.
It was nice to get away from the sort of political issues and just get into talking about who our favorite composers and artists were, and to talk just in terms of music. It was the whole bridge between us, the gap that existed was just taken away. Yeah, the first time when I was playing, at first I was really nervous about, just butting in and just showing, playing their music. But afterward, I had a lot of positive feedback that just playing this meant a lot to them, that people were thinking about them and the circumstances that were going on in Africa.
Well, there were lots of things that were really memorable about this trip. The warmth of the people, not only during our performance, which they did as well, but afterwards, and they were very interested and seemed very appreciative that we were interested in what was going on, and that we would go to the extreme efforts to raise the funds and rehearse and come over and visit. So that was very, very moving, people-to-people kind of experience, and I won't ever forget that.
The Milton Academy in Boston boasts 5 jazz combos comprising violin, flute, saxophone, guitar, piano, bass, drums, and Latin percussion. They last gave a concert in the city in 1992 and left an impression. The musicians are divided into 2 groups and bill themselves as global ambassadors, touring the world to promote music. In a promotional flyer, the students say they see themselves as bridge builders and want to strengthen links between South Africa and the United States. They are also trying to collect music equipment and books to present to impoverished South African schools keen on music. South African jazz musician Abdullah Ibrahim has performed at the Milton Academy, an ordinary school with an extraordinary love of music, and encouraged them to tour the country.
I really like El Weirda a lot.
Except
We're not on El Weirda anymore.
We can pretend we said this when we had El Weirda. We really like El Weirda and Roy.
And Roy and George.
I don't know if you know this, but Abdul Ibrahim came to our school in September '91.
Yes, I
He
know.
he heard us playing his music and he invited us to come to South Africa. And so we came 6 years ago, and it's such a treat to be back.
jazz sound that too short for Johnny. So. Thank you.
This morning we drove to Davistown or something. A township right outside of Johannesburg. And we played at a music school in the township started by Johnny Mekla or something.
He's a trumpet player who plays in the Abdullah, and they had just gotten this music school together to give opportunities to local kids who wanted to pursue music or couldn't like get into the schooling system because they were already
Too far behind.
And so we arrived there, and they played for us first, and they had a big band, and it was really incredible. They were awesome. There were all kinds of ages, from like really little to pretty old, and it was great hearing them play. They had tons of energy and all of that. But then we played after I think they did two songs.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere was incredible.
It was totally different. It was such a contrast with the Japanese boys' school because everyone was yelling and stuff when we played. And I wasn't used to the fact that like people would respond to something you played. Like if I played a phrase, and I was so surprised to actually hear someone yell or something.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
And so all the like energy of the crowd and like encouragement, it's like I think it made us play much better than we ever have. Certainly better than last night.
Yeah.
So it was like I thought it was a great experience. And then we had like a jam session with them afterwards where we actually played with them. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was great playing with them.
Yeah, it was so much easier to make a connection with these people that were so different from us living music.
Yeah. Music really is the quote-unquote universal language, however trite and overused that phrase is. It really was true today.
Yeah, that's how they
they display? Yeah, they are. That's how they show the reverse.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I don't know, it can kind of be a drag waking up really early every morning, like at the present moment. But if you think about it, like if we spent the entire trip waking up at like noon, I don't know, I think...
Yeah, there's so much that you miss by waking up at noon. Like in Kruger, we woke up really, really early, like 5 or 5:30, and it'd be amazing how much you'd be able to accomplish by noon, and then it was only noon, and there was the rest of the day.
Yeah, I think I've become a morning person.
I think I've become a morning and late night person, which doesn't really, they don't.
Yeah. But the morning's cool, you know. I've come to know it well. And
the mornings really.
Yes.
Mornings.
That's all I can say.
Really, that would be the next topic of interest, really.
I mean, that time of day.
Really, mornings are just special. I'd like to offer everyone the notion of mornings.
It's very spiritual for me. And
the mornings move me. What do you think of Southampton?
I think it's great.
Down in the rock there? See that little the darker thing? That's that rock.
They become rather unruly, and they are actually kicked out of the family group. And they then live on their own or join a group of young males.
Milton Academy Jazz Ensemble. Okay, their director, Bob Senecrow from the Milton Academy in Massachusetts, will explain the program and what they're doing here and what they're playing in the course of events, and you'll get a better idea of why they're here and how we all relate. This is their second visit and their second time performing in Durban. And it's up to you. You want to start the show now?
South Africa and bringing our jazz group and touring around the country. I forgot to say, we've been in Johannesburg, we played 4 concerts there.
Port Elizabeth on Saturday, and we're going to Plettenberg Bay, and then we're going to Cape Town. We've got lots of great gigs, 13 gigs lined up in 12 days. I mean. Anyway, Sabian Cymbals was very, very generous, and they donated 3 sets of cymbals. And so on behalf of Sabian Cymbals, I would like to present to Brian for his township school in Lousy a set of Sabian cymbals. And we're going to go visit Brian's school tomorrow and have a big...
will only hunt when they're hungry. And
playing a lot, and also enjoyed the beautiful women of South Africa. It's a particularly fine. And
there's a really hot waitress here.
hello. I think that being here, I've definitely learned a lot about the land and what Africa's all about, and I seen a lot of stuff and experienced a lot. But I don't think you can really learn that much from an objective point of view. You really have to learn about Africa. You really have to live here and be one of the people who is an African.
True, there being a South African separates them from us, but it's not as if there being South African separates them from the rest of the world. Most of this is a first world country in some areas. It's part of the world as a whole, and it's not. My guess is even some of the people we met with, specifically the kids at JEPI or whatever. My guess is to them it's just it's a first world country. The third world part of it is more of a of the side they'd rather not talk about. It's more. I think they try to ignore the problems in their country, and they just try to live life.
badingela inkosi uma sisuka ngamunye ngamunye semakhaya songathi umuzi wakho nothando zingaba nathi njalo sigcineke egameni elihle lenkosi yethu Jesu manje kuze kube phakade. Amen.
Our planning's gotten a lot tighter since we've been here.
It seems like every day we do something as amazing as the day before. It's just you go onto an amazing beach, and it's like pictures you see. You can't quite. It sounds really corny and all.
So here's some South African music. graduate, and he's a resident of South Africa.
Yeah, well, thank you all for coming. I know you really came for the free CD giveaway. So here's the CD.
It's been great and it's been a privilege.
What else? Anything?
Nope, that's it.
But it's been beautiful. It's been really nice. Things like seeing God's window and things like that just been like amazing to me. It's mind blowing. The homestay we had at Natal University, I stayed with Simon and Bernard, and they're both musicians. Both one's alto and one's tenor sax player. And after the show, we hung out basically, and then we went to a jam session in this like practice block. And actually, the drummer from the African Jazz Pioneers was there because he's the drum teacher, or one of them, at the university, and it was nice to just be able to make music with them.
Yeah, we did the workshops and taught some kids how to do some chords, and they learned really quickly, and they're really like grateful. The question they asked me that really like touched me, I guess, was they wanted to know what they should practice, what they should do on the piano if they only had 1 hour a week to play. And I was like, wow, not very privileged kids, but talented. I like the homestay with Darius Brubeck, actually. We talked a lot. He told me what I should do to improve my playing.
people are here for music, but I mean, I think for me, the best part of the trip was just seeing South Africa. And playing music was a lot of fun too, but most of the time is spent experiencing South Africa.
I really liked the first township, Davies.
Yeah, that's great.
At Johnny Meckler School.
Although I liked at Adam Lassie when after we played, and they had this whole like huge brass band, and they played an African song. Was it Shabin, the name of it? And we all joined in. It was very cool.
I thought the animals in the game park were really amazing. I wish we could have seen it a bit differently though. The open air bus or something like that, but or a bus with windows. But it was still really, really cool seeing animals I've never seen before.
If you go in lines right away. 2, 3,
4, shit.
5, 6, 7, 8.
You can get copies of other people.
9,
10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16.
Okay. 17, 18. The politics is always a draw in me. You know, the one side is the nature lover and the other side is the politician. And there can be few more exciting places in the world than South Africa currently, simply because of the dynamic of a 4-year-old country, a constitution that's still being written, the huge problems that apartheid has left in terms of public service. How do you uplift 40 million people, and and sort of equalize the standard of the 4 million who've been so high, and try and get a balance where everybody's going to feel comfortable? Well, obviously you can't, so there are going to be a lot of choices, a lot of friction. And I always like societies where there's friction, there's an edge to work with. And I get a sense of that here. There's a real vitality.
concerts. Just seeing them on stage with South African students, that's definitely been a highlight. And also many of the places we've seen, being able to take them to see places that my mother and I have, since I was young, certainly since she was even younger, have been going to like Plettenberg Bay.
We've been in Johannesburg. We played at Funda Academy in Soweto. We played at Johnny Makewas School in Davytown. We played at the Blues Room. We played at Jeppy Boys School. And we played for Darius Brubeck in Town University. We played in Lousy Township. We played at the City Hall in Port Elizabeth. We played at a primary school in Plettenberg Bay. And we've got tonight and tomorrow the Green Dolphin. And we have Westerford High in Cape Town on Friday morning. University of Cape Town Friday afternoon. I'm exhausted going through this. And Lanka Township Friday evening.
Had some very, very powerful growth opportunities and experiences here. As I said, musically, they're so much better now than they were 2 weeks ago, and the maturity and the depth. It's a treat to watch the kids, the Milton jazz students, grow musically. And there's just something so special about South Africa, for me at least. There's just some kind of connection that I feel with so many of the people here.
on Cityline, a look at South Africa through the eyes of some talented high school musicians. From pre-trip practices to their final farewells, we'll take you on their 2-week journey. Good afternoon, I'm Karen Holmes Ward. Welcome to this week's Cityline, and thanks for joining us. We hope you had a great holiday. Today we follow the Milton Academy Jazz Combo and their chaperones overseas. The Jazz Combo is a group of dynamic, talented local high school musicians led by a very dedicated teacher. The Jazz Combo recently had the rare opportunity to share their music and culture with peers in South Africa, and they got it all on tape. We'll hear them perform, see their reactions to a different environment, and even take a look at the local politics. Cityline first met up with them at school before their big trip.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
The Jazz Combo is a year-round, full-credit course for students at Milton Academy, a private school for kids K through 12. The Jazz Combo has been part of Milton Academy's program for 28 years, thanks mostly to bandleader Bob Sinekroop, who formed the Jazz Combo.
This is my 28th year at Milton Academy, and it's my 27th year as having taught jazz. Okay, we want to pay more attention to that ending. The cue goes rest, and then when I give you the cue, you go from C up to D flat. The thing that makes the program so special are the opportunities that the students have to play. For instance, this is our 3rd tour of South Africa. We were blessed. We played at the White House 2 years in a row. We've been to California a couple of times. We've been to Florida a couple of times. We've been to Montreal a couple of times. We've played at 4 different International Association of Jazz Educators conferences. We played at the North Sea, Vienna, Freiburg, and Montreux Jazz Festivals. Quite high volume.
A strange twist of events took place in 1990 that led Milton Academy to South Africa.
One of my favorite musicians in the world is a South African musician named Abdullah Ibrahim. And I made a journey down to New York to try to meet him and hear him. And we were able to have him come to the school in September of '91. Amazingly, there was a parent at that time of a senior who was a childhood friend of Abdullah's from South Africa. And he got him to come to the school, and Abdullah came into the middle of a morning concert. He arrived on campus, heard the students playing his music. I was told he was in tears, and he ran up on the stage, and his first words were, "You have to come to South Africa with me." From the teacher's perspective, mounting a trip like this is logistically, it's an enormous task. I mean, it's just monumental. Setting up concerts 10,000 miles away, you know, organizing the logistics, raising the funds to help students who need help financially, setting up concerts and all this. Why bother to do it? Because South Africa is such a unique position right now. We're post-apartheid, although when we first went over, the white government was still in control. And for our students who really, at a school like this, they're very, very fortunate. For them to experience what it's like to be in a township, for them to realize, this trip has changed students' lives. They get a perspective, they get an appreciation for how blessed we are, and they want to make connections.
Just listen up, everybody.
We have a teacher at our school named Janet Levine, who was a Johannesburg City Councilwoman for 10 years. And to have, I mean, that's like having Senator Kennedy or Senator Kerry, you know, be your tour guide when you go to South Africa.
This year, I think it's going to be even a little more different because this is the first time that we have a racially mixed group. And I think, you know, in '98 we had the black students we were performing for looking at our group, which was all white, and saying, you know, don't you have any black people in America? Now, I think this time that dynamic is going to be just make it different. I think the kids are also in a way more prepared this time. They've done a fair amount of reading, and they're up to date. We've shown them, we've prepared them well. So I'll be interested to see how they react.
Jazz Combo students rehearse 4 times a week, adding to their already rigorous academic schedules.
This is a very demanding academic institution, and the students are, able to keep up with very little else but the U.S. history term papers. Meanwhile, we have a tour to South Africa coming up next week. So they are not, it's not an art school.
Longtime friends Daniel Jacobs and Nathan Bliss were among the students chosen to go to South Africa.
Extremely excited, just so excited for this trip. It should be incredible. We've been practicing for months to get all the material ready, and we're really excited.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I've been playing bass since about freshman year. I played cello before that, and piano before that, so I've been playing music a long time.
Besides perfecting their music, the 18-member group and their chaperones had other things to take care of before their trip.
Now, when you're in South Africa, you need to take pills to protect you from malaria. So these are your pills, okay?
Great. Thank you.
Okay, and have a wonderful trip.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Enjoy. Okay, bye-bye.
It's kind of in the back of your mind that there's still a lot of, racial tension in that area. But what I really want to do is I just want to go in and see everything from my own point. Not to hear this and then be like, oh, okay, I knew that was going to happen, and then come back and talk about it solely from that perspective. So I really just want to go, see all I can, take some pictures, listen to people.
I'm so excited to experience a different culture and actually be completely immersed in that culture with, we'll be performing in townships at schools, talking to kids, and it's amazing. I can't believe we're doing this, and just completely immersed. I mean, I've studied South Africa. In my government class, we've spent some time on the government, but it's completely different to actually be there and witness it for yourself.
March 9th, the day of their departure finally arrives, and the students, eager for what lies ahead, say their goodbyes.
I've never been out of the country. I'm really excited to go, play lots of music, see all the people. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be amazing.
The Jazz Combo raised over $33,000 through performances and donations to make that trip happen. Those are some good fundraising skills. When we come back, we'll get on the plane with the Jazz Combo as they make their long journey to South Africa. Welcome back to Cityline. For those of you who are just joining us, we are following the Milton Academy Jazz Combo on their 2-week journey to South Africa. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience for many of these students, and the cameras were rolling from takeoff straight through their entire trip. Here's some of what they saw. After a 15-hour flight, the Milton Jazz Combo students and their chaperones arrived in Johannesburg. Their first stop, Skukuza, where the students traveled through Kruger National Park, home to over 8,000 of Africa's elephants.
I've really loved it so far. It's been really beautiful, having the animals so close. It's one thing that's always that's been sticking with me is seriously how nice the people are. My favorite part was when that elephant was in front of the first drive and stomped and wouldn't let the truck go. That was so great. Oh my.
The group had their first of 9 performances at Gauteng Academy, a music school for teenagers and young adults in a small town called Davyton.
I have never played with anybody like the people in that school. I mean, when you play in America, you play for like concerts. There's very little interaction between the people, They might clap or they'll applaud, but most of the times
when we're up in America, we play like background music and people aren't really that excited. But you know, in this concert, it kind of felt like going to church. There are people there shouting and dancing and having a lot of fun. And I just never seen that anywhere else.
They were just so into the music. It really surprised me. They were uncanny improvisers, and they could just tell that it sounded right. And they would pick up these songs that we showed them in a matter of minutes.
Nathan and his classmates read a lot about South Africa before their trip, but no amount of preparation could have prepared him for what he found.
No amount of research could have ever, you know, yielded the spirit and the musical and cultural richness that I found here in South Africa. And no internet site is going to reflect the warmth of the people either. They're just regular kids just like us. They're going to school and they listen to Kwaito music, which is South African hip-hop, and we brought our American hip-hop, so you know there's all the similarities. I was surprised 2 days ago when we went to Funda Community College to meet some people who were just naming off all the musicians that they were listening to. I mean, they named every single bassist that I listened to. It's refreshing to see that, you know, people are listening to them. And then at the same time, I was a little caught off guard saying, you know, you have your own incredibly rich musical culture right here. What are you doing listening to Stanley Clarke, Marcus Miller, Jaco Pastorius, and you know, all of them?
In a country where over half of its population lives in poverty, the Milton students saw sights they had never seen before.
Being here for the past couple of days has really forced me to consider how I look at privilege, you know, how I look at my own life. I mean, the money that I get for allowance is serious money down here that could support people for a very long time.
City of Cape Town is rich, but this is where most of the people who live in Cape Town actually live.
I mean, I'd heard there were large, you know, class differences. A lot of the areas, you know, there'd be a big tourist spot, and then there'd be, you know, the place where most of the typical townspeople were. But I was really shocked when I came here to see exactly how close it was. I mean, to go from these like immensely rich areas to these immensely poor areas, I mean, it was just crazy.
Squatter camp, which has developed.
There were some barbed wire fences, and then across the fences just hills and hills covered with these small little shacks. And that's intense. That's really intense. And I don't know, when I first saw that, just the chills went up and down my spine.
Milton Academy English teacher and trip chaperone Janet Levine was a city councilor in Johannesburg for 10 years before immigrating to the U.S. in 1984.
Since I lived here, it's a totally different country, but this time I felt there was total acceptability of everybody just moving in and out of public, you know, social mixing in public places. I was also struck by how just ordinary South Africans, white and black, were really making an effort to say hi to each other and to, you know, meet each other's eyes and a smile, which definitely wasn't there even in 98. What I hope is that they can see that nothing is simple. It can be, if I can just coin the phrase, you can't discuss it in terms of black and white. And South Africa is such a country of contrast that you just can't apply any simplistic labels.
Jazz band leader Bob Sinecrope never fails to be amazed at the way young people from such different cultures can connect.
You know, there's a body of music that they share, not only the jazz, but there's a lot of the rap artists that our students found that the South African students enjoyed. So that's one thing, you know, a shared love of common music.
After a few days, the students started to see past the surface, realizing that things aren't always as rosy as they seem.
I get a sense that the effects of apartheid have not ended yet, and that I can still definitely feel the racial tensions in the air. People just as recently as 20 years ago could be living under such a system and you know, some people thinking that it's perfectly okay, and some people still thinking that it was perfectly okay and that it was a mistake to end it.
The students from the Jazz Combo found most people in South Africa to be warm and welcoming, but certainly the scars from apartheid were evident as well. When we return, they discover that in contrast to the fun of shared music, there are shared political views in South Africa that show little sign of going away. South Africa, as you know, has been through every political, social, and economic upheaval you can think of. Ever since the establishment of a plural democracy and all-race elections in 1994, the world has tried to forget about the ravaging effects apartheid had and still has on South Africa's people. But as Milton Academy's Jazz Combo students found out, there are still some South Africans who are quite outspoken about what they really think about the new government. While in South Africa, the Jazz Combo students had the opportunity to spend a few nights in homestays with African families. Daniel's host was a white South African.
When we were talking about things like race, I was trying not to, you know, keep my sort of American, like, defenses. You know, when she used words like colored and half-caste, stuff like that. You know, it was, I had that typical reaction, you know, of just kind of freezing up, you know, and trying to figure out whether I wanted to, like, do something or not. You know, there wasn't any malice in that, and so I had to tell myself, you know, to like go beyond that and listen to what she was saying. I wanted to come into the experience completely open, and I guess one of the things that struck me was that, you know, as we got closer, there weren't as many differences as I originally thought there were, you know, in a sense, there weren't as many differences as I had hoped there'd be. You know, I really enjoyed the music and the people were different. A lot of the other factors were the same, you know, and I was hoping that, you know, with a different sort of people, you could, you know, you'd have a different sort of society.
Nathan and Alicia stayed with a man unafraid to share his view on apartheid.
I was a little unsettling. It got even more unsettling when I started asking, you know, how's your relationship with the black people in this country? He was talking about dealing with his servants. He had several servants. How he would have to repeat his instructions several times. Talking about how it's a different culture that doesn't resonate with success or business, that they need someone to set guidelines for them. It caught me completely off guard, because here was this guy who was completely generous with his food, completely generous with his time. He was offering his house, but then he came out of the blue with all this talk about how AIDS, in effect, was God's way of weeding out those who were lazy. There's been a brain drain in South Africa since apartheid ended because the new government can't hold on to its people. And obviously, he has the facts to back that stuff up, but to make those arguments and to say that an apartheid system where people were living in the townships that we saw coming into Cape Town is a better system than the systems now, I can't believe it.
Apartheid was institutionalized in 1948 in South Africa. Race laws touched every aspect of social life. blacks and whites were forbidden to marry, and white-only jobs were created. During the decades that followed, 9 million black citizens were forced to live in homelands, independent states where blacks were stripped of their South African citizenship and any right of involvement with the parliament. Penalties for protesting against or supporting the repeal of apartheid included fines, imprisonment, and whippings. But black South Africans persevered, and after a 40-year struggle, held their first democratic election in 1994, resulting in Nelson Mandela becoming the first black president, officially ending apartheid in South Africa. Hopes that when his students leave South Africa, they take away lifelong lessons, not only about music and culture, but about the value of freedom.
At the moment of impact, when we played in some of the townships and when we played our last concert, there was just tremendous lift in energy, something that we're just not able to generate in Milton. So I'm hoping that now that they've gone to a place where they've had this tremendous passion and been able to express it in their music, that they can tap into that. It's easy when you're immersed and surrounded by all this love and energy, and then when you go back into your more traditional routine, and you've got all these demands on you, it's easy to forget. So hopefully that's a gift that they have inside that they'll always be able to tap. And hopefully I can help them learn how to tap that, and maybe they can start to do that on their own. It's just an amazing heart opportunity to connect with people from very, very different cultures, but just a powerful bond and a lot of fun too.
The Milton Academy Jazz Combo, under the leadership of Bob Sinecrope, is hoping to make another journey to South Africa in March 2003. As for Nathan and Daniel, both are doing great and continue to play music, but are focused mostly on their college studies right now. Nathan is currently at Columbia University in New York, and Daniel is attending Stanford University in California. Now, for more information on the Jazz Combo, contact Bob at cine@milton.edu or call 617-898-2562. Or you can visit the Milton Academy website at www.milton.edu. Now, if you've missed any of the information, we'll have it listed on thebostonchannel.com. Click on local programs until you come to our page, or just type Cityline in the search bar. Thanks for joining us, and I hope everyone is having a good new year.